Well, good day there, hippies, humans, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're doing it to. Hope you're doing it like me today, with a cup of coffee, a long black, and the faithful puppy dog by my side. I've got a bit of a day off, and I'm making the most of it by playing a bit of tanks, cleaning up around the house, washing the car, and generically videoing my life away. Now, if you listen to the Tank Boom podcast, you would have heard K-Dub recently with Left Turn and Lokeen talking about the ruthless mathematics of World of Tanks. And by that, I'm talking about the ability of putting two guns on one target, focus firing, and forever being joyful. I'm going to go through a little bit of that today and show you some examples of it and some examples of good team play and how it all works. And basically, if you want to take your game to the next level, you've got to start working with a platoon mate as a good, solid team. Firstly, though, I want to show you a little spot that I like on Falls Creek. Now, I'm driving a low-profile Russian medium tank, and you'll see how the issue with Russian mediums often is like that T-62A. To get shots at me, he's got to go over the peak of the hill because his gun can't depress far enough down, and so he has to expose himself, and he gets caught in a very awkward position, like that T-54, who also had to go over. But you'll notice I'm bouncing a lot of shots. The reason being that the Object 140, the 62A, the 54, all those kind of medium tanks are low-profile, low gun depression tanks. Now, they are not very good at peeking over the top of hills. They don't have the gun depression like Snake Eyes there in the Leo to do the business. What you can do, however, is look for the ends of hills. You see how this here is the end of a hill. It is where it tapers down towards the ground. You can actually fit your upper glacis into that area and almost make it like an extension of the hill at such an extreme angle that it becomes an auto bounce zone. Now, that's fantastically good if you're in a low-profile Russian tank with a very bouncy, very steep front. It also works very well in the FV4202, for instance. That is an outstandingly angled upper glacis on the front of that tank. That is a 70-degree auto bounce zone, all on its own in certain instances. So if you can find the end of a hill and you don't have enough gun depression to angle down over the top of a hill, then you will quite often be able to do what I just did there. You'll also, if you're a cheap ass like me, you'll note that I am refusing to fire my gold ammunition here on this IS-7, even though he may indeed kill me. It's like a point of principle. I will not fire gold if I don't have to. I like to save my credits. So that's today's abject lesson in Povo tactics. If you can find the end of a hill, it's like a crease. The 62A, the 54, the Object 140 can then take advantage of that low profile. Now, let's get back to the ruthless mathematics of World of Tanks. As K-Dub said in that podcast, if you line four tanks up together and all shot at each other, but one side only shot at one tank in particular at a time, you'd end up with like three tanks still being alive on one side and everyone dead on the other. And there's a reason for that. It's because when you're in a high stakes game of which tank shall live, quickly bringing DPM to bear and knocking one gun out means that you then get to turn your attention to another gun and so on and so on. And it's a much more efficient way of playing the game. And if you're in a platoon like you are here with Snake Eyes Warrior, someone that I've platooned with for a long time, you can be really rampant. And I'm going to show you a few examples of it. I'm going to replay this little bit here and slow it down and talk you through exactly what's going on. Now, we've pushed up this hill and we've looked at the teams firstly, and they had one medium tank. We're a very strong duo of medium tanks here. We've got a lot of DPM, so we decided we're going to push through and be aggressive. Now, Snake's got an IS-7 up on the right there. I've seen this here, and I know it's a turreted tank destroyer, but the FV215B183, because I know my tanks, does not have the ability to fully rotate that turret. So it's very, very, very weak and defenseless once you get past it. However, I am watching my minimap closely, and I've seen that red arrow point on the left. So there's an object 268 there. Now this is more about brawling. I don't have any cover here, but I do have an enemy tank that I'm currently trying to fight against. I'm going to use him to go between myself and the object down there, save me from any incoming fire on that perspective, and allow me to keep putting shells into the 183 without him being able to look towards me. I get unlucky here and I actually hit his track. We dip just a little and that stops him dead. But Snake's left the IS-7 because he's a good platoon mate and he understands the ruthless mathematics of World of Tanks, and he is now putting all his energies into the 183, which I then finish off very comfortably. The Object 268's made a huge mistake here. He has pushed towards medium tanks. Unless you are absolutely certain and you're in a non-turreted tank destroyer, never roll forward and cut down the space towards medium tanks. What happens if you are not against a zone line or something like that? You then give them the opportunity to get around you very, very quickly before you can bring your gun to bear on them. Now, he's going to do the right thing here, but he's going to do it too late. He's going to go for that zone line and try and square me off so that he can then squeeze me around and get a shot. But if you'll note where I point the arrow on the ground, I don't try and turn into him. I turn directly alongside of him. And that's old age and treachery. I've been in this situation a lot of times before. And if I keep driving dead forward, he won't be able to turn into the zone line. And he'll be stuck in this position right here. Any non-turreted TV, if they try and do this, you have to drive directly along the same line as their tracks and never deviate. If you move left or right, you give them the opportunity to squeeze a little bit easier and they can actually get back on you. So he's got no choice then. You'll see here, I am still just driving forward. He is actually turning me. So I'm locked at the hip with him. He's got no chance whatsoever to turn around. Snake's actually been taken out of the game by the IS-7. He's got no choice. He's trying to stay alive up there and he's copped a flogging for his troubles. But now that there's two guns on one, even though Snake's got next to no hit points left, he can just simply stay out of the way of this IS-7. Now, I'm trying to troll for that damage from him. I want him to be attacking me because I don't want him to hit Snake. He doesn't have the hit points. Now, I'm not actually worried about putting damage in here. All I'm trying to do is keep him occupied so Snake can then finish him off. And that's why Russian mediums particularly, with the insanely high DPM they possess, you're over 3,000 damage per minute in the 62A on an Object 140. And that's the ruthless maths that we're talking about. That's what you want to be doing. If you can bring over 7,000 damage per minute combined with Rammer to a match, then you're talking about 1,800 hit point targets evaporating very, very quickly. And if you can bring more guns to bear than they have to bear, then you're going to win the game. It's that simple. And if you're with a platoon mate, don't just piss off into the wild blue yonder and say, see you at the end. Work with them. If they're in a tank destroyer and you're in a medium, spot targets for them and use them as an angel on your shoulder. If you're in two mediums, for God's sakes, work together. Don't go to different sides of the map on purpose unless you can physically still give each other supporting fire. If you're in two heavies, work a line together. Have one that's the rock and one that's the hammer. And we're going to look at all examples of this. One more quick thing, gold spamming. Stop whinging about it, guys. If you've even loaded one premium ammunition shell in one of your tanks when you go into a game, then you're no longer talking about it being good or bad. You're just talking about who's doing it more. If you fire premium ammunition, you're firing gold. You don't get just a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. So it's all well and good to have a morality play about how life should be fair, but you don't see that E75 turning to his side on purpose so he can get shot. He presents me the best part of his armor. Likewise, the game mechanic is gold ammunition is there to pen targets that are unpennable. And it means that you can actually have games where you have tier 7, 8, and 9 playing together because the tier 7s can occasionally contribute via APCR or heat. Anyway, onwards and upwards. What you're going to see here is, and I should point out, I run a lot of tanks with 5 to 7 rounds of premium ammunition in them. That is not excessive. And you guys probably realize that because you watch a lot of other people on YouTube. But you don't need it. I fly a low pen gun on this T54 and I have 7 rounds of heat, and I often don't use all of them. And I'll do nearly 5k damage in this game. I don't think we go all the way through to the end, but the majority of it is with AP. Now you'll see there that guy got tracked. Something else you guys want to start working on if you want to be successful in platoons, particularly if you want to keep focus firing the one target and keep them in place for a long period of time, is to constantly try and hit drive wheels. You'll see at various instances in this video that I hit drive wheels a lot, and there's a reason for it. It tracks them, it stops them, it immobilizes them, and it means it's far more likely that someone else on your team is going to hit them. If you're a 60% plus player, you don't need me to tell you this, you're doing it already. If you're a 50% player, you might not be doing it. And if you're a lower than 50% player, you're probably not. Now look, HM Lee Sniper has gone down here. I have immediately followed him down. I've hit exactly the same targets he's hitting. We focus fire and we go through this one flank like a dose of hot salts, and the game is over. And that's because we work together as a team. Now you want to see focus firing. You're going to see, this is brilliant. This is myself again in the Object 140, and I'm with a good mate of mine, Ricochet, another Storm player, who is in the T62A. We do very well. I won't spoil it. We'll watch the whole game this time. Now they've got 3 mediums out here. They've got a 62, they've got a 44, and they have a 54. You'll note I am not blowing up my cover. If they're going to blow up their cover, they're going to have to do it themselves. I also switch ammunition a lot, okay? I switch from heat to APCR depending on the target, depending on how important it is that I penetrate that target. 62A is a prime target in this match. He's one of 3 tier 10s, and I'm willing to blow a little bit of love to make sure that I hit him. I still haven't touched this car in front of me. If they want to take the car out, it's going to cost them a round, and if they do that, then I'm going to move away. Ricochet has noted that there is no joy on the other side of the map, and he has now come over here. He said help, and in a second you're going to see what 2 tier 10 Russian mediums focus firing together can actually do. Rico doesn't really even need to call these targets. We've both got the same mindset. Going to 62A. Next up is this 44. We both hit them very, very quickly, double taps. I'm already into the 54. Rico's into the 54. Bang, bang, bang. Good night, nurse. You gotta love Russian mediums. I mean, we went through that flank like a dose of salts. That was absolutely lovely. And that's why you drive them, because they're so much fun. Anyway, we're down 3 tanks to 4. And it looks even worse now because we're down 2 tanks to 4. This is a great little spot here, by the way. You can move up here and actually put fire into people through these windows as they come around the flank. Ah, dearie me. Very, very disappointing. Now, I did mention earlier, you shouldn't bugger off to the other side of the map unless you can still see each other and support each other. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to play a little 2-man game, Rico and I. He's going to go the long flank, and I'm going to go just along this edge. He'll work his way around the other side eventually, and we're going to basically put fire into these 4 from the higher ground. Things go a little bit awry when I lose the high ground, and that can't be helped though, unfortunately. That Jagdpanzer 100 hasn't turned up yet. You'll note in the first video we looked at the way you can use this tank to hit through hills. You want the end of hills, just like here. See how this ridge tapers down? And they have no shot apart from my turret or a very, very flat surface. Or in fact, the hill in front is where they'll hit a lot of the time. And that's how you should be using very, very steep nosed medium tanks. Any tank, in fact, that has a bit of an angle on it. Now, the Jagdpanzer 100 has finally turned up. Trying to get a shot in before he gets there. Can't be helped. Not going to get it. Got to go. Okay. Here he comes on the left. You'll see in just a second. There he is. Got to change. Got to turn. Got to turn. Here he comes. We've been waiting. We've been putting effective fire in. But that's all changed now. We take a couple of big hits there, being very careless. And they're the kind of mistakes that can cost you games. However, Rico's seen the target. I have called the target. Rico has responded and is even now smashing fire into the back of that Jag Panzer 100. And even though I'm going to drive down here and blow a track, Rico's done the job on him. This is a bad shot, very bad shot. And I make some big errors here. It's a great game though, isn't it? I mean, you can make errors and still have opportunities to get wins, but you watch the video back and you see some of these things and it just... I mean, I know this guy's a tier 8 and he's been in a tier 10 game, so it's very unlikely that he has any gold ammo left. So I just angle towards him and he gets a track, but that's it. So that's not a big deal at all. I know I've got Rico back on the corner there, so I'm not really worried about pushing on this 75 at the moment. I honestly didn't think the E100 would have a shot at Ricochet here. Rico is just smashing this E75 from the behind. But the E100 is unsighted and then suddenly he pops up and nails Rico, which is really unfortunate for us because I could have used him. Now I then use this building between me and the E100. The E75s, I'm just going to try and reverse under his gun and show him nothing but turret. It can be very hard if he's zoomed in and we do take advantage of that. Now, two big errors here. Now, these are horrible errors. Side on to an E100 and you go from being a 2-shot tank to being a 1-shot tank without doing any damage whatsoever. And then he plays it very smart here. He backs off until his reload is ready and gets himself a run-up. And I screw up royally my reverse into the side of the house, panic stations, and we lose it. And I'm not happy about it either, because that was a very, very winnable game there. That was very disappointing. I felt quite bad for that with Rico. But as you'll see here on the scoreboard, we pretty much did everything we possibly could to carry. Not often you'll see 11,000 damage from a platoon in a loss, but we didn't get a lot of help, unfortunately, from the rest of the boys there in green. Now, this one is a great example with Snake Eyes Warrior, again, in a couple of rusky meds, just showing you, well, a couple of... When you're with a platoon, mate, you've really got to watch and pay attention and get a bit of an understanding, and you'll get to a point where you actually have a really good understanding of how they play and what they want to do. And I know Snake's an aggressive player and he wants to get stuck in that 62A, but this 75 is really going to give us trouble. And he's the linchpin for this entire map. While he holds there, he keeps Snake trapped, and that's 62. At the top, there's an IS-7. Snake can't advance there, but he can't go back. He's stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea. I know that. I really do. I know that that is the way forward. We have to clear that 75. So as Snake rolls forward, all I'm focusing on now, I can see he's very low on hit points, is the 75. Now he's going to try and get the kill, and we're going to double tap him, and that's a win. And that's the game. That's where we won the game, right there. Because as you can see, Snake is now freed up to do whatever he wants. We can flow forward. We've pincered them now in a corner, and I've got the hit points, so I'm going to go forward because I'm a good platoon mate, and we're going to use my hit points to put double shots into all these guys here on the flank. And that's the game. I mean, when you've got two Russian mediums hitting a tier 8 heavy, it's not fun. And we're now going to get stuck in the ICU 152. That E75 did a really good job, but there you go. You work as a platoon. The ruthless maths. Now, this is ruthless. I'm in an FV4202. Has great gun depression. It's a lovely tank to be driving along a map like this. I am with my good friend Chapo's, the Chapo, who is in an FV215B 183. He is behind me. You'll see here's the orange triangle between the 1 and the 2 there in the middle top of the map. He has a big bloody gun. He's got 183 millimeters of hurt. My job here really is just to put the spots up. Now I'm pretty safe taking that because the PLV guy, who is actually another clan on the Asian server that is really top flight. PLV, I think it's a French for Pour la Victory or something. Basically, I say PLV, I think it's French for Jesus, these boys can play. And he's something that I really want to take out. But you'll note how I'm rolling this ridgeline with absolute impunity, because anyone that pokes their head up along here is going to get smashed. Again, drive wheels. Drive wheels are your friend. Hit drive wheels all the time, especially on tanks like IS-7s where you cannot be sure that you're going to pen, but you get through a drive wheel, you're more than likely going to pen, and I'd like to perma-track him, but no shot. In a sec, see, Chapos is telling me who he's going for. We're communicating our targets, and I've asked him for help for the target that I want. He's going to ask me, he's literally going to type out here, who do you want me to kill? And basically, I'm going to indicate who I want him to kill, and he's going to kill him. They're afraid to come around this corner. Tell me which target. 110 E3. There we go. And he just got destroyed. He got eaten up alive by the Chapo. Now I'm calling the IS-7. We're just tapping him as we go back. And it's the intimidation factor. It's using your platoon wisely. That's our platoon. We've got a massive big cannon at the back. Chapo's in. There's the IS-7 gone. That's the game. We win this easy. We win this going away because Chapo's is in a big gun and I'm in a little tank with a nice rate of fire and a DPM, and we combine the two very well. I think I had 3,000 spotting damage. Chapo's had about 3,000 damage. So very good way of working a TD medium platoon is to have one as a dedicated spotter who can also obviously do damage, and then the big angel on the shoulder who every time the shot becomes available or they get a little saucy and push forward on the medium is going to fill them up, really fill them up. And that's where the 183 does work very well. Chapos calls Docs here. He is in the FV215B and I am in the T110E5. I think this is the wrong video. No, just checked. It's the right video. I'm an idiot. I hope I'm not coming off as too pompous here, boys and girls. I just know that a lot of people do ask for these kinds of videos where I go through exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I think it just makes it easier to get up the tree and figure out how you should be playing to be successful. And that's all we're trying to do here. I'm not the world's most gifted human. I'm not amazing at this game. What I do, or what I try to do as often as possible, is use the best features of the tank and the limited advantages I have, which is generally playing with people that can play and will support me, and turn those into wins. And that's what we're trying to do here today. Chapos and I are on the docks because we have no mediums. They had 2 meds. We didn't have a single med. So otherwise I'd always really end up going to the right here, but we didn't have anyone who could get out there and flank fast. We're going to do a whole lot of focusing here. I'm going to be more or less the rock. I'm going to do enough damage myself, but Chapos is in the 215B. Now that thing has got a gun from God. It's got a 1.7 second aim time, 400 alpha, but a really quick rate of fire for a heavy tank. It's an absolute pearler, very good dispersion. They've gone and basically mirrored us. They've gone the other side. Chapos is in town, and I realised straight away that that is not a good place to have a 215B on its own. If we leave him down there, he's going to be the guy that they hit first, and don't chase around. Chapos is saying hold here. We are of one mind. So we take the time out. You see this? We're just trying to help the team, help the humans. So we take the time out to stop them, and then I'm charging back down to give old mate a hand. Now the 215B, it should be noted, is an outstanding tank. It's got absolutely exceptional gun handling stats. I'm not very good at it. I'll get that out of the way now. I'm terrible with it. I don't know why. I don't like anything that has rear mounted turret, but you know, there is. Chapos loves the thing and he's pretty good in it. What we're going to do here is basically there's an E100 going to pop up here in the middle. We're just taking our time, just letting the field set, and then we're going to pick our targets and ram them as quickly as possible and move on to the next, one after the other. So we call this E100 here is our first target. I believe we're on TeamSpeak for this. So, and you can see him absolutely melting. That's why I've dropped adrenaline, Chapo's is dropped it as well, and we've just gone through 2,400 hit points in a matter of seconds. Next call is the C100 here, and I really stuffed this shot up. But anyway, can't win them all. There's a T44 and the E100. Chapo's is just over my right shoulder, and you'll see every so often a little pop of 400 hit points damage will come out of this E100. There we nut him very hard there. There's Chapo's has given him another one to go on with. Trying to always hit those drive wheels. Stop them up. Make sure that they're available for the rest of the team to hit. Chapo's is still getting stuck into the C100. So we've basically prioritized these two guys as the targets to kill first and foremost. And we're going to nail this T44. The reason we're doing that, even though he's not a prime target, is because Chapo's does not have the strongest armor profile from behind, and neither do I. We're quite weak in the flanks and the rear, the American and Brit heavies. And as such, even a T44 at our backs could do some real damage and swing the game. Now, I've targeted the IS-7, obviously. He is the guy that we have to get rid of. Chapo's is making shots from between boxes on my left. Look at that. He's behind the boxes. I can't see the IS-7, so I'm just waiting until I get a shot, and then, of course, I donk it. But I'm also pretty nicely positioned here behind this water tower to where I can side scrape to a degree. Chapo's has nailed the IS-7, and all is fair in love. And World of Tanks Blitz, we are slowly progressing up the win tree. Big key there. Two big things. Again, focus firing. The ruthless maths. Getting two tier 10 guns on another tank is always going to produce a very, very fun result for you. Number two, prioritizing targets. The first two targets we killed were the opposition heavies, the two E100s. They were absolutely first and foremost. And the next target that we went for was the opposition IS-7, because those are the guys that can do you the most damage. So if you're going to focus fire, don't bother trying to focus fire the T44 or focus fire the KV4. Focus fire the tanks that are going to actually kill you and blow you up. And that'll make you a lot more successful. Our next video, because I know I've bored the tits off you, is going to be, how we go there. We did both about 4K. So you can see it was really key. Big game here. I'm playing with Ace Stealth 251. Used to be the leader of the Ace clan. I don't know. I think that's now Ace Carrig. Is it Carrig? Is that his name? I forget. Anyway, they've got such luminaries as 48 Tanner Ruckus and Catalyst Protocol and Toby and lots of boys. They're a very, very good clan. And Stealth is no exception. He is a far superior player to me, I feel. And we did actually have a run on Twitch yesterday where I think we won 16 straight in a T54 T30 combo. And if you watch that, you'll see that I'm getting carried on some very, very broad shoulders. But what I want to talk about here is working as a platoon. And there's a key moment in this game, and you'll probably see it straight away. But I roll up here, this little 54. He goes straight through the turret of the Patton, as well he should. However, he doesn't have a lot of gun depression, so I'm playing it a little bit further back. I was too aggressive there. Stealth is on the left, just doing the business on this IS-8. We're wondering where the rest of their team is, but, you know, we're obviously very happy that they're not turning up yet. Did you see what I did there? This is what will separate so many players who are lower win rates from higher win rate players. The T54 shot me. I did not care. I didn't try and shoot the T54 back. I went for the target that my partner was fighting, the IS-8, and I put shots into the IS-8. And you'll see me do that again in a second, because if you can clear one tank, then you can both get to work on the next tank. And when that tank is dead, his gun is no longer in the game, and their team damage per minute that they can put out has dropped by his whole tank. Now, you can't teach some people. That poor bugger there in the Super Pershing went straight over the top. There we go. Stealth has now cleared out the IS-8. Watch me call for help here. That shot you saw going there, that was from Stealth. He was already all over it. And and he then goes in front of me, stops him from putting another shot in me, and bang. Oh, how good is it to have a good platoon mate? He was on that like a rat up a drain pipe, like white on rice. Now watch. Stealth I was thinking about doing it. Stealth has done it. He's got a faster tank. He's got a much better brawling tank, and he is now off down to base, where the enemy T-54 has turned up on his flank maneuver and killed our other T-54 that was hanging around doing God knows what in base. Stealth is off there to cover the rear because he's a good platoon mate. And although we're now not focus firing, I'm working with this IS-3. I'm now going to flank around here to the other IS-3, but he's popped up here. I know I can rely on Stealth to win that brawl down there because the kid's a freak. Meanwhile, I'm just going to be up here. Again, drive wheels. Hit your drive wheels. Get your drive wheels here. Keeps them stuck still, especially if they're a Russian tank cresting a hill. The Ruskies have like 5 degrees of gun depression. You get them cresting a hill, they can't shoot anyone or anything underneath them. And we do actually donk a shot here, I think, but we then use this dead IS-3 as a bit of a placeholder just to keep us in place. Try and turn an angle and catch it on my tracks, but I don't. And then the IS-3 is dead. Stealth's on his way to reset the cap because he's a good player and we don't have to worry about him doing the right thing. Watch this. Gotta love that pattern wild ride that is the dispersion on the M46 pattern. It's a lovely tank. Ruckus drives this thing like a god. I really enjoy it. It's a great flowing tank, and I actually think the STB-1 is going to be a lot like this tank itself. And there we go. Really, really solid platoon work from us. We both focus fired in a manner of speaking on that IS-8, cleared him out. Ace then came over and immediately focus fired into that T-54. As I was calling for help, he was already there. So we eliminated their 2 most important tier 9s and then cleared the rest of the boys out following that. And that was a really good run for us. I think we run an awful lot yesterday playing those tanks and the T-30, T-54 combo. But there you go, 5.5k. Ace did 3,700. So, another 9,000 platoon game. And that's where it's at. And that's not, you saw the way I played that. There was nothing whatsoever special there. That's just map awareness and having a good platoon mate you can trust. And if you really want to up your win rate, why don't you try to be that person? Always watch for your platoon mate's target. Always watch what's going at your platoon mate and see if you can track it and stop it. Make sure that you have good lines of sight and that you use the buttons to communicate. There's so many little tricks and tips in the game itself. But realistically, just being sensible and watching the map and the lists and the team lists is a huge step up. And after that, the rest of the stuff, the more intricate things like knowing the penetration values of other tanks, knowing where their ammo racks are, knowing where their engines are. For instance, the German tanks, you always want to hit them at the front on the lower glacis, apart from something like the E50M where the engine is actually not at the front on the lower glacis. The IS-3 and the IS-7, and you want to hit those just behind the little headlights. That's where you're most likely to ammo rack them. And there's all little things like that you're going to learn as you go along, and the more you play, you'll get better. But it starts with being a good teammate. Don't blame other people. Blame yourself, because it's a team game. You saw we did 11,000 damage, Rico and I, and we didn't win it because it's a team game, and the other team was just a better team. They had a better team that worked together in a better manner, and they did have a better spawn at Copperfield, but what can you do? But if I hadn't made a couple of mistakes, we still would have won. I had every opportunity. I just didn't finish the job. And you've got to finish the job before you can start whinging about everyone else. If you lose or you die very early, when you look back at it, you nearly always know what you did wrong. Don't rely on other people, but if you've got a platoon mate, you can expect some help. Anyone on Bushka on Blitz? I hope that was bloody helpful for you. And if it wasn't, they'll sucks to be you. Until next time, team, stay safe on the battlefield.